Live czy nie?
Czy to jest tam... Tak, to jest wszystko tutaj live udostępnione. Nie, jeszcze nie. Już jesteśmy live?
Okay, so hey everyone, hello.
Tak, to jest wszystko tutaj live udostępnione. Nie, jeszcze nie. Już jesteśmy live?
Okay, so hey everyone, hello. Możesz to włączyć jeszcze chwilę, Daily w studiu.
Hey there. I hope anyone can hear me. We're apparently experienced some technical issues on the podcasting studio that we have, and maybe I have some audio issues as well. Shouldn't be. That's a classic. Yeah, so I actually don't have anything to entertain you. Yeah, so I turned on the chat on YouTube, so I can see I'm still the only one here. We're waiting for Chris and for Jacob, who is the lead maintainer and developer for Repack, which we will talk briefly, maybe not that briefly, about today in the webinar. And yeah, technical issues are so embarrassing. Yeah, right. That's time for jokes. You're right, Shimon. Give me some joke, please. So I'm not very good at jokes. Apparently, like I recall I had this one moment one time during a conference talk. There were obviously some technical issues just in the middle of my talk. So we were there for 3 or 5 minutes with Andrew, who was fixing some stuff for me. Apparently, it was the cable didn't connect at the other end of the setup, and
okay.
Yeah.
Please excuse us, Mike, and please excuse us, everyone. It's been like 5 minutes of technical issues, and yeah, it felt really embarrassing. So please excuse us for that. But maybe that's actually even I don't want to say good, but maybe late joiners could actually have already joined. So we are also late joiners in this case. So we can probably start right away. I just wanted to check, first of all, if you can hear us and see us to avoid any other technical issues throughout this webinar. So if someone can let us know in the chat that they are there, maybe say hello, that would help me to ensure that we are actually live. Okay, I'll give like a few seconds.
Yeah, Chris, it looks like it's all good now.
Okay,
Good
perfect.
to have you both here.
Okay, great. So so as everyone who is here probably knows, but I would once again maybe build some context of this webinar. So today we will be talking about the super apps. So what is it? What is all this concept all about? We'll try to give you some knowledge that we gathered along the way, and also some knowledge and insights about how to get started with super apps, especially with the tool that we created here. So before we even get started, we can maybe go to the next slide. Here is the QR code, and in the course of this live meeting, if any questions will come up, please submit them there. This is slido.com where you can actually post your question. Anyone else can upvote this question, so we secure some space during this webinar, at the end of this webinar, to answer all of your questions that will be submitted there. So if in case anything, just post it there. And without further ado, let me quickly run the agenda by you. So first of all, super apps. What is it? What is this concept all about? Where it's popular, what apps are actually super apps already out there in the market. Then few words, few slides, and as a quite decent knowledge about the Repack and how it supports building a super apps, and then how to get started with Repack and with building and implementation your super apps. What's the process? How it looks like, and how you can learn the super apps. And one more thing to say. Before the Q&A session, after our meritorical part of this webinar, we'll be sharing some bonus materials for you that can possibly come in handy. So that's our game plan for today, and let's get started. Once again, here's the QR code. Any questions, scan this, let us know, and we'll start with a short round of introductions. So myself, I'm Chris. I'm taking care of any business matters here at CoStack. Today with me, our head of technology, Mike Peshkawa, and Jacob Romanchik, who is a core contributor and maintainer of Repack. So we have knowledge here to actually cover the topics of this webinar. And on to Mike to tell you about the super apps themselves.
So what are super apps, and which apps out there can be considered super apps? So let's start with what are super apps. In typical terms, these are multi-purpose platforms that integrate a wide range of services and features to fulfill various user needs, all within a single interface. Or it's any big app with lots of functionalities. This concept is really popular in Asia. For example, we have WeChat, which is operating in China, being a chat social network, a payment provider, and it would also handle insurance for you as one of hundreds services it provides. There is also Alipay, also from China, which is a payment app that evolved into an everything app, allowing you to handle travel, shopping, and it even integrates with third-party apps like Uber. There's also Grab operating in Southern Asia, which handles transportation, food delivery, and digital payment services. And these apps are often described as everyday apps for everything. So look at WeChat alone. Its feature set and the feature offer is massive. So it is its app size of like 600 megabytes for iOS. Now, and apparently, super apps are not only available and popular in Asia, they're also available in the West. So, for example, Uber, it's a ride-hailing app with scooters functionality, with food delivery, and everything around delivery and moving things around. There is Revolut, everything around finance. There is a Polish app, Allegro, which is an e-commerce Amazon competitor, which is everything about around buying things online. And there's also Facebook offering everything around social networking with marketplace and dating. And these apps also serve billions of users. Uh, it's just that in the West, users apparently like lots of services scoped around a rather single theme than having an app to handle basically everything. So the challenge with big apps is that as they get bigger and bigger, more people are involved in the development, and the pace of shipping new functionality or bug fixes decreases. So, what can we do to ship fast again as the time where we were a small team? So, organization of large teams is largely solved in the server world with microservices and in the web with micro frontends, which allow our teams to develop their apps from smaller pieces in isolation and independently. To bring true micro frontends to the mobile realm, we need dynamic code delivery. And Android supports it in the form of feature delivery, which is quite limited and not generally encouraged by the platform owners, by the way. Both platforms, however, support WebView to load web content dynamically. This is what Uber and Alipay are doing, for example. And this is what, for example, Ionic Portals is handling. It has its benefits, but we lose the native feel of the platform. And finally, we can leverage hybrid JavaScript frameworks like React Native that happen to run a dynamic language, which we can load over the air and update at runtime. This is what's possible with JavaScript. And it's worth to mention that there's no single solution to micro frontends, and they all have trade-offs. The one that we found has the best overall developer experience is Module Federation. It introduces separate builds for the same app, allowing for more independent teams and deployments and sharing code between the apps without ever touching NPM to do so. The creator of Module Federation, Zach Jackson, shares similar challenges that we do in the mobile realm, where we couldn't keep up with the shipping pace, which we had in the past in a smaller team. And also, he was kind enough to speak about it at our podcast, The React Native Show, which I highly recommend from this point. Module federation, however, is a Webpack feature. So we need Webpack support for React Native. Our React Native apps are usually being developed by default with Metro, which is a different bundler. And supporting Webpack in React Native is exactly what Repack is all about. And it's a Webpack toolkit for React Native that Jacob here will tell you more about in a few moments. With Repack, we can build something more specific than a super app. We can build federated super apps, optimized for dynamic feature delivery, independent deployments, and shipping fast. Thanks to Repack, our apps can still grow in functionality that's relevant only to particular users without having all the users pay the cost of the app size. That's because of the dynamic delivery. And at the same time, it allows for small and lean teams that can work in isolation on their features, or so-called mini apps in the super app terminology, even in separate repositories. Now, the teams can choose whether to run the full app or just work in a scoped environment of their own mini applications. And we found that most developers prefer isolation in the super app architecture, as it allows for faster feedback loop and or onboarding and just having less distractions. However, it's not required to use separate repositories. There are teams that thrive in monorepos and can handle its complexities. And Module Federation supports both approaches at the same time for the same product. What's important here is for the teams to be able to deploy their code at their own pace without being blocked by others. And for the host application to be able to pick the versions it wants to load over the air. To ensure that the host app loads your code not tampered by bad actors, Repack handles code signing of all the remote JavaScript bundles for you, similar to what Code Push is doing. It's automated and you're the one in control. It's almost like developing for the web browser, and your users can get the latest bug fixes and features without doing anything and without re-downloading the whole bundle, which can easily get up to 40 megabytes for apps like Discord, for example, which is a React Native app, by the way. And this is what a federated super app is all about. Off to you, Jacob.
All right, so let's talk about Repack now for a moment. So as Mike already said, Repack is an alternative to Metro, but Repack in itself isn't really a bundler. It's more like a toolkit that works closely with Webpack to deliver you the final bundle with some extra features, which we'll talk about in a moment. Let's start by going a little bit technical, and I'll explain to you how Repack achieves its functionality. To make Webpack possible in the React Native ecosystem, we needed to change how the JavaScript is loaded under the hood and take care of React Native initialization. Other than that, Repack also takes care of assets resolution and loading, especially for these assets that scale with the device. So every time so it works just like in Metro. Repack also comes with a dev server that gives you access to things like debugger, React DevTools, or fast refresh, which are also present in Metro. So about the Repack features. So the biggest feature that we offer is definitely code splitting, which allows you to insert async boundaries in your code and make it possible to load only parts of your code on demand. Other than that, as we are using Webpack under the hood, we support tree shaking, which basically means that the parts of the code that normally get shipped with Metro would be stripped away because Webpack can detect that this code is unused. For example, when you have a big library and we only use few functions from it, then all of that code will be stripped away unless it's being used. Using Webpack also comes with the benefits of its ecosystem. You can use tools like plugins or loaders provided by the community, made for the web by the Webpack community. But Repack also comes with its own set of plugins. We have plugins like Chunks to Hermes bytecode, which is able to transform your chunks into Hermes bytecode, as the name suggests. We also have a code signing plugin that is very useful when working with the next feature, Module Federation, and yeah, many other plugins that will be helpful during the development. And last but not least, Module Federation, which we'll talk about in a moment. Let's just emphasize how code splitting can help you. So first of all, we can lower the initial load of the app, making the app start faster. This is no longer such a big case as it was a few years ago, since the introduction of Hermes engine as the default, but it still makes a difference when it comes to big apps. Code splitting also allows you to load only parts of your apps on demand. And thanks to that, we can also update only these parts of the app, which enables very granular over-the-air updates. And then we arrive at Module Federation again, which is a more fancy way of doing code splitting. It allows us to share chunks between different apps. Let's put that into a more concrete example. We have two apps that have largely the same set of dependencies. When we embed one app into another, we naturally will need to download that embedded app, the source code and its dependencies, but only the missing ones, as the rest will be made available for the app in something we call the shared scope. It works wonders on the web, but for the mobile apps, we have one more slight limitation. We need to have the same set of native dependencies, as you won't be able to download some of the extra native code. This is what makes micro frontends on mobile a possibility, where we can truly deploy independently. I need to stress that Repack is an advanced tool, and it's not that intuitive to use. We expose low-level APIs to allow you to do more, but it also requires more effort on your part. You need to carefully examine the docs in order to know what you are doing. Repack also favors customization over convenience, in contrast to Metro, which does the opposite. Okay, so now how do we implement super apps using Repack? So, in a nutshell, we have to do 3 steps. We have to initialize Repack, set up Module Federation plugin, and load the mini app. You can add Repack to your project using a tool called Repack Init, where it will basically reconfigure your project to run Repack. There are also some few manual steps to that process, but this won't really be an issue. We suggest using this way if you are starting a new project. However, when you have an existing large project, it might not work. So we always have a fallback in form of manual installation steps on our documentation. Right. So let's suppose we have successfully initialized our project with Repack. What then? Then we need to set up the Module Federation plugin. In our host app, we need to add the name of it and add the shared dependencies, which will be accessible for the mini app. Then we have to configure the same plugin with only difference that we need to point to a component that will be made available for import in the host app. We also have to declare the same set of shared dependencies to make it possible for them not to be duplicated. Finally, in the host app, we need to configure the script manager, which is like a brain behind all of this module federation setup. We need to add a resolver that will know how to import these components that we request later on. In here, you can see that we point to a mini app via a template string that will actually be resolved to concrete file names. And finally, we can just import the component that we want in the place of our app where we actually desire to display the mini app. And that's how we arrive with the super app. But it's only the beginning to developing. To actually fully understand how this setup works, you have to go through tons and tons of documentation. So first of all, if you're not familiar with Webpack, you need to go through the Webpack docs, as basically 90% of it will also apply in case of using Repack. It's also advised to go through the Repack documentation to learn the low-level APIs and the resources linked in there. To give you a more practical approach, you can also examine our Super App Showcase or Super App example repositories, and also Repack example for more exotic configurations. And finally, if you face a problem that someone else might have, and it's not mentioned in the documentation, you can always look through the GitHub issues. And finally, having done all that, we have our own super app.
Okay, but this is what you are seeing on the screen is actually an example of super app that is available on our GitHub, and you can check it out. You can experiment with that. You can play around. But we can, and that was initially our way to show you, okay, so how the super app is built. But however comprehensive we'll do that, we concluded that it might be not the best way to show you how to get to the desired end result. So that's why we also decided to touch on today on how to learn developing super apps. So first way is, as Jacob mentioned, is to go through the docs, maybe spend some hours there, maybe spend some more hours on trial and error process, and then checking GitHub issues, resolving edge cases on your own. But maybe there is a better way. And today we are also pleased to announce something that might be this better way, the super apps training. So basically how to create a super apps with Repack in 1 hour. So what is a super app training? So first of all, it's a comprehensive overview of Repack knowledge oriented towards building a super app. It's super fast. It's 1 hour process on 1 hour net content of the process of implementing Repack and building your first super app without the mistakes that we saw happening. We share our knowledge from being creators and practitioners of Repack that is used not only in the open source, but also in many large projects. And as far as we are aware, this is the first and only Repack and super apps training available on the market. So this is the first edition. So I wanted to make it fully clear for you what is this training and who is this for. So first of all, this training is for you if you are on or you are managing the team of approximately 30 plus engineers. This is when we see it starts becoming beneficial to actually invest in the super app architecture. Also, if you are an architect or infrastructure designer, also having something to say about the team structures, about the processes optimization, development excellence at your company, this might be something, a piece of knowledge that would be valuable for you. And of course, this is relevant to you when you are using or you are willing to use React Native, because Repack is a Webpack toolkit for React Native. Hence, it will work with React Native environment. So how the training look like? So this is a fully online program. You access the platform with pre-recorded video lessons. You work with a demo app that is a matter of this training. You follow the lessons and you are building a super app on your own. But also you have always a fallback to this. The app is supplemented with a lot of practical homework that you can possibly in parallel start applying to your own product and create a proof of concept of your super app on your product, on your company. And it's backed, this training is backed by networking space, the community space that will be starting with a Discord. And this will be an opportunity to contact us, maybe get some mentoring support, discuss the materials from the training, exchange your thoughts, maybe receive some additional materials that will be posting there. You can also work with others who will be creating their first super apps, maybe go through the lessons together and meet people who are also facing similar challenges and trying to grasp similar opportunities as you do. So what this super apps training look like? It looks pretty much like this. Jacob will be Jacob is hosting this training. So after finishing this course, you might feel like you know Jacob by heart. And what he will be showing to you here is our agenda. So I won't go one by one. It basically takes you from not having a super app architecture to having a proof of concept and for you being ready to explore super apps onward on your own. So you can already validate whether it will be worth investing, and this course, this training will help you with that. And that's not all. As this is the first edition, we wanted to make it really valuable. So we supplemented the training with some additional bonuses. The knowledge base is it's pretty much a lot of things here and there about the super apps, about the Repack, but sometimes it might be hard to find. So we gathered everything for you in one place. So you have it along with the training. Also, there is several new terms that are introduced when talking about the super apps, about the Repack. So also we gathered them all together. There's something really special for the first 10 people who buy this training. So it will be an opportunity to get the code reviewed by us at CodeStack and then consult in the live consultation meeting. So that's really, I think that's one of the best things here. And then we used to already conduct some live meetings, either online or in person manner around Repack, around the super apps with the companies who are either already using that or are considering and they are validating this approach. So we are planning on continue on that in the future as well. So once you're purchasing this course, you're also becoming a part of these events, or if you are willing to. And then we also wrap this training up with the certificate in case anyone asks you. And moving on, once you are done with the training, there is also a super app showcase that takes the super app example even beyond the training boundaries. So it shows you what is else that you can do with that. So here some more advanced use cases for you to explore. So explore when you are equipped with this training knowledge. So just to sum this up, a super app training is a super fast and organized process for implementing super apps with Repack. You get 1 year access to the materials. You have a free access to all the updates to this course that will be released, and we already are like planning on some, for example, state management in super apps, and you have the access to the super apps community. You have all the bonuses that I outlined, and you have absolutely no risk with buying this course, because if you're unsatisfied with its content for any reason, you can just let us know and we give you money back for 30 days after purchasing. Important note, we'll be having a sales window. So this course will be available to buy only for 1 week from now, so until the 14th of November. And access to the platform, to the training platform, will be granted on the 15th of November. So that's important one. And now the price, which I think is amazing, because it's $197 US for of that. So as I mentioned, it's the price and the course, the training is up for sale until the 14th of November for this price. And the one thing I can promise you, it will never be cheaper than that. This is the first time we are putting it on the market, and this is the lowest price you can actually get. So one more thing, because we imagine that some of you might want to ask your company for some financial support to actually obtain this course. So, and we realize at the same time that 1 week might be not enough. So it's no problem. You can buy it personally if that's too short to obtain this support from your firm, and then onwards, we can just change the invoice, give you money back, charge your company. All the formalities are on us. Just let us know. Okay. And now the promised bonus, because you might be wondering at this point whether or not the super app architecture and the concept is for you. So we prepared something that might possibly help you. This is a super app checklist that we'll be sending out right after the webinar. And it will, first of all, list everything that is necessary to be able to build a super app with Repack. So all the prerequisites. And then the cases in which you can consider a super app architecture beneficial to your company. So that should help you also decide whether to or not to explore this topic. Okay, so that would be it from us. And now we are here for you for this Q&A part. I will just once again remind there is a slide out there. So here is a QR code. Scan it, post a question, and upvote the ones that you see might be interesting to you. And in a second, we'll be answering them. Okay, so let me now open up. Okay. Okay, so first question. what are famous products using Module Federation or Repack in their mobile apps? Mike?
Yeah, so the ones that we're aware of, for example, is Klarna. So Klarna is a finance app from Sweden that's using Repack. They don't yet use Module Federation. They're currently experimenting with it. However, Repack uh, enabled them uh, to squeeze some extra performance from the initial load time for particular um, features or screens for their app. Um, yeah, this another example would be from Vietnamese market, which is Momo, who are using Repack with their own custom setup, which allows third-party developers to even create their own JavaScript bundles that then can be uploaded to Momo and included as a third-party app that's loaded dynamically um, from their platform. This is what I'm aware of. Chris, would you like to share some other apps that you're aware of?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, so unfortunately, I cannot disclose this name, but there is a very famous company from game entertainment that we've been that we've been cooperating with, and actually, that's how Repack even originated. So, there are some companies like of a global presence and really solid market position that are already using Repack, Module Federation, and the super app approach. So, so I think here, as Mike mentioned, even now we are partnering on Repack with Klarna. That is, I think, a great example of that. Okay, so
I think that the next question is about the state management.
So go. Okay, so the question from Frank: how do you leverage global state changes as a federated app team? For example, if you have some store of global state that needs to change, it impacts everyone. Mike, Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah, sure, I can answer that. Yeah, so you can, when you import a mini app into the context, into your component tree, well, it's still the same React component tree, right? So as most state libraries utilize context in order to share data between two different parts of the app, and you can do basically the same. All you need to do is just access that context from within the mini app, and then all you need to do is just react to these changes inside of the mini app. So there are no restrictions when it comes to global state management, when it comes to um, super apps.
Yeah, so maybe I can extend that. So with Module Federation specifically, we have like two ways of loading the modules that are federated, which is um, to to load them as singletons or not. And for React and React Native that are related um, to the React that are like handling React context, they are a singleton in this case. So you basically end up in an app that React sees as any other web or mobile app. It's the same concept. So all the all the tools that you use for state management apply here. There's not much difference from this angle.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. Actually, at the moment, the most upvoted one is from Frank. Could a company do a small private session for training for several developers at once? So I don't. If I get the question correctly, you're asking about Frank. You're asking probably about more custom way of delivering here the Repack and super apps knowledge, and that's something that definitely is possible. So if you mind dropping us a line, then we can talk more about it. I think the best way is to basically, if you mind dropping us a line over the form on our website, then for sure. Okay. So the next question from Amish, and I see that was asking like in the middle of the webinar, so maybe it has been answered. It is new, and so Amish says, it is new and resources to learn it is tiny. What are your plans to fill in the gap? My team had some contributions on GitHub and we are writing documentation for it. So that's exactly like, first of all, we are developing Repack actively, and we are also like checking with many companies out there how we can take it onward and what would be the most useful resources for them to keep working with that. And that's also to fill in the gap. That's exactly where the training comes. So that's our way to enable also the community to get started with super apps, with Repack, and to make it fast and efficient. How much more? Anonymous question, again, the most upvoted one at the moment. How much more difficult do you find developers doing feature work? Find it with a super app development. So, as I understand, is it harder to develop features in a super app compared to the normal app?
I think I can answer that. Well, I think with the super apps, the hardest part is just getting set up everything properly, setting up correct CI and CD pipelines, and having and adjusting your workflow to all of that. After you are done, you'll have your app to be able to be developed in isolation and then on integrate. So as we suggest in this course, having an infra team helps a lot with that subject, because they will manage the complexity of putting the app together, and the developers team will be able to develop their apps in isolation, which should streamline development and actually allow for faster release process. Mike, would you like add to anything to that?
I think not much. So the once everything is set up, the development is not that different. You basically have two ways of developing the app. Either you develop your own mini app in isolation, and then you have basically the same experience as you do in your React Native app. In fact, I've seen regular apps doing like small that are big and not utilizing module federation or Repack, creating like a separate smaller piece of app for the sake of faster development on a specific part of this. So it looks like this, and the other part is developing the main host application and loading the mini apps that you need. And in this case, we need to deal with a current limitation of module federation, that the fast refresh or host hot module replacement doesn't work in a setup where you have multiple federated modules and you want to refresh one and have the other listen to the changes that happen. Fast refresh works well in the standalone mode where you work on your mini application, and yeah, for now it doesn't work with the host application. And this is something that I think Pack is experimenting with in the maybe some near future, but this is something that Jacob could tell a few words about it. But yeah, I don't want to get into more details on that.
Yeah, I can add to that RSPAC is indeed experimented that, and in the future, as we are Webpack compatible, we might also be RSPAC compatible in the future. So we might migrate to RSPAC in the future and then have some other problems solved by that as well. But that remains to be seen still. It's still very experimental at this point.
Still experimental.
Okay, so before going to the next question, I have just received an information that first courses has been already purchased, and so if you want to have the opportunity to actually consult with us the outcome of your course, the repository of your own app that you might possibly create, then maybe be quick, so so you can still be within this 10 first people. If that's something really desired, then just try to maybe fit into that. And then we have the most upvoted question now from Yandre. Is it possible to implement OTA over the air in the Super app? So,
yes,
Jacob, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
Popular one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as I said before, Repack supports over-the-air updates and very granular at that, because in comparison, Code Push only supports uploading on the main bundle, but that's the normal flow with normal apps, not the super apps. Yeah, I do believe there is soon going to be an open source library that will actually facilitate that, but I'm not sure I can actually give more information on that. So
yeah, and I think one cool thing about Repack and this architecture is that it basically allows you to create your own code push for your app that's as granular as your federated modules, or code splitted parts, to be honest, because it doesn't require module federation. So yeah, you can implement your own code push. You can deploy it from your infrastructure, and we have an example of doing that with the thing that we call catalog server on our Super App Showcase repository that we've linked here. We've also talked about this repository briefly before.
Yes, also this part of the architecture where the catalog server is discussed thoroughly throughout the course. So,
okay, so next question, anonymous question: Is it worth to use Repack instead of Metro, even without module federation, for benefits like tree shaking, for example?
Yeah. Jacob, do you want to handle this one?
Go on, Mike.
Yeah. Just give me a second. I had some technical issues. So yes, there are some benefits in like tree shaking, for example. Webpack is really good at it. So if you need smaller bundle, this is helpful. And from the Klarna app example, or when talking to Klarna, we realized that they were able to pair Repack with Hermes to like increase the tree shaking and make Hermes loading the bytecode even faster than with Metro. So this is this is what Klarna experienced in their case. This is something that we haven't actively pursued or measured, but yeah, this is their experience, and they're very happy with it, and they're not using module federation yet. Um, so yeah, I think that that's it from my part. Jacob, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would actually, if you could read the question again, because I
Yeah,
think I lost context of it.
Is it worth to use Repack instead of Metro, even
Right,
without module federation? That's the
right.
question.
So my take on that is, if you only take care about tree shaking and making your app smaller, might not be that useful to use Repack. Of course, you can try, but your development experience will probably suffer. Metro is a very mature tool. It has tons of bugs fixed over the years. It's really stable. So if you are not looking for code splitting, I think you should probably stick to Metro. However, when it comes to tree shaking, I do believe there is something for the tree shaking that Microsoft was experimenting with inside of RNXKit in their repository, which like groups a bunch of different tools that they worked on. So it might be worth looking into that. Personally, I haven't really examined it, so just a hunch, basically.
Yeah, it is there. It is like very experimental, but it works in many cases. That's what we've seen in the wild. So I would try Microsoft's tree shaking through the RNX kit before adopting Repack if you are not interested in module federation or code splitting. Yeah.
Okay. So we have the next most upvoted question from Abilio. Any backend strategy for a super app? Connect the super app with BFFs for each mini app, one middleware / API gateway. What? So, Mike?
Yeah. So I can answer that. So you can use any kind of backend with mini apps. However, if it comes with backend for frontend, this is rather for web apps because they're rendering. You have a server that renders HTML. However, we're on the verge of adopting React Server components and server rend and like exploring server rendering for mobile apps. So I guess this is something that will get feasible, actually, not only possible in the future. But other than that, we've seen integrations. I mean, the module federation for the web has dozens of examples. It also have example of working with Next.js, which is like the one of the most popular backend for frontend, and you can check that on their GitHub. It's like module federation org on GitHub. Feel free to see what's there, and yeah. Other than that, it doesn't really make too much sense today without something like React server components.
Okay.
And yeah, and regarding the second part around middleware or API gateway, in our showcase, we're putting a something that we call a catalog server, which is a proxy between your host application and the actual bundles that sit on AWS S3 or any kind of server that you're hosting your assets from. So this is what we are currently recommending, and the setup is really simple. In the Super App Showcase repository, we have a maybe 50 lines of code expert server that handles all of that, and also some extra tooling around versioning the applications and making sure they have their dependencies up to date between the versions. This is the tricky part that we recommend to have a dedicated infrastructure team to handle for other developers, so the feature developers don't have to think about it.
Okay. Okay, so the next question, and the popular one: if Cossack decides to don't develop Repack, it has a lot cost for use. What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Jacob?
so I have two answers to that. First, Repack is open source, and it's available for anyone to fork. That's like the facts, right? And the statement from Cosstack is that we as a company are strategically committed to develop Repack. So we've developed it heavily for the last year. We're committed, and by we I mean our R&D team, which I'm heading, and which part Jacob is. We are committed to um, investing in Repack for the next year and most likely the years after, because we already see quite a lot of demand from bigger engineering teams, and by bigger I mean hundreds of developers, like 70, 100, 300. This is what we're seeing right now, where people are coming with those challenges of scaling, and Repack seems like a good promise to solve their organization issues and their engineering scaling issues, and that's why we're committed to developing it. But this is only the I'm from the company. I'm saying what are our plans. You don't have to believe me, but the facts are that this is an open source project, and there are already quite a bunch of companies that are using it and are invested in Repack.
Yes. Okay, so maybe a little announcement. It's been 1 hour since we started, so, and there is still some questions. So I would suggest let's give it like maybe 10 more minutes to wrap it up, and so just for everyone to also be able to manage their time. So 10 minutes, maybe 3-4 more questions, I think will fit into that. So the next question from Fabio. Repack supports code signing, but with a single key. Is it possible to have different keys signing and validate this dynamically?
I do believe at this moment only when it comes to code signing, only using a single key is supported, but it's definitely something we might consider to implement. I'm not sure. I would need to actually look into the implementation again, but yeah, it's something absolutely doable. I see no reason why not. So feel free to open an issue with your proposal. How would that look like? And we might look into it and actually add it to Repack.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yes.
if this is something like a deal breaker for your organization adopting Repack or Super App architecture, reach out to us directly, and we will schedule a one-to-one call and try to figure out what's necessary from the Repack side, so you can succeed with it in your organization, in your team.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's the one thing. The other thing, and maybe that's worth emphasizing, the Repack is actively like developed by us. So if you like have any expectation on or needs around this, just let us know. Either it's GitHub or if you need this like urgently, maybe schedule a call as Mike mentioned. Uh, Repack is for you and for the community. So we always take into account what firms and teams actually need. So seriously, let us know. Um, okay. Okay, so what are the risks when using module federation or repack? Maybe so that's the question from Amish. I would also add to that maybe some additional question to encourage the discussion. What like maybe we can talk more also about it. What is the impact on the teams and what beyond only implementing repack you need to take into account? Uh, Mike?
Yeah, so I think the biggest risk is using module federation before you actually need it. So uh, first and foremost, module federation is a way to implement microfrontends. And if your team is 10 people or 20 people or so, and you decide that you need to have micro frontends to be productive or to, I don't know, be on the very edge of doing things or just do things that someone tell you that are solving their problems, then I will tell you to reconsider using it. It's really a tool that you will know when you need it. It's like a last resort. You already like scaled your monorepo to the very limits. You've already have you already have um, the platform or infrastructure team that's helping you solve the problems of delivery, and you're still shipping very slow. And by very slow I mean you're not able to ship some things for days or weeks. Then is a time where you can actually pursue module federation. And if you're adopting it earlier, you're risking adding a new abstraction for your team to learn and making it even slower. So
Um,
that would be my answer here.
I would like to add on a more technical aspect, and when it comes to actually using Repack, introducing module federation to your app and the super app architecture actually introduces remote code delivery, right? So that's basically the only part that changes from the more or less technical standpoint of how your app is combined together into one. So with remote code delivery come also other risks, such as, for example, some tampering attacks or man-in-the-middle attacks. Um, and to alleviate some of this issue, or at least increase security, that's why we've introduced code signing. So code signing is a nice security measure against that risk that actually remote code delivery introduces.
Okay. Okay. So the next question from Fabio also. How can Repack support the development of apps where React Native isn't the main technology? for example, a native Android app that wants to become a super app?
So this is not impossible. With native Android, you can go with the brownfield approach of adopting React Native for your native app, whether it is iOS or Android or any other supported platform for React Native. And you can set up Repack on top of that. So, for example, you could have your native app. You could load some part of it using React Native or some full screen, and then have Repack as a bundler to control the content delivery for that part of the application. So this is possible. It's gonna be tricky. It's not something that we cover in our um, trading. So unfortunately, it's not there. It's a very um, uh, uh, advanced use case, which we can help as a part of our consultancy offering. So if you need this kind of services, just give us a message, and we can see what can be done about it.
Okay. So the one last question, and we'll be wrapping up. So can you tell us a bit of about adoption of Repack? So I think that's a nice question because it actually nicely circles us back. Everything about adoption of Repack is in the super apps training. It basically takes you from absolutely no knowledge about Repack and not being able to use it with your app, not knowing about the super apps and how to set them up until when you can actually build a proof of concept of the super app at your organization for your product and see actual benefits, and you are also ready to keep exploring more advanced use cases that we are also providing in a form of a super app showcase, which demonstrates most advanced cases for you to consider. So, and I really, I'm sure that this is good way to start exploring. So once again, starting today through following week, this is up for sales. The price is the lowest that will ever be. You have absolutely no risk in buying this course, because I mentioned, and I want to emphasize it once more, if you are unhappy with this training for whatever reason, just let us know. Money back instantly for 30 days after purchasing this. So thank you once again for your time. And yeah, by the way, in a week from now, we'll also probably host a Q&A session. So if you still have any questions at the end of this week until next Tuesday, and you'd like to synchronously discuss, then I invite you to join. And or in the meantime, we are also here for you. CoStack website, just drop us a line, and we'll answer everything that you might need to know. Thank you, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.